their income from was through these factoring agencies. They almost hold the monopoly of the industry. So actually it was a much bigger problem to fix than one that we first thought of. I felt like I was sort of knocking on the ceiling of my own ability, and I was like, I need to go to that next level. Is what I believe to be true actually true? If I can challenge that and move that forward, then that's where we hit new levels.
I could be speaking out to him, but I think things like that don't feel like work. For anybody that has done love languages and seen what they are, mine is gift giving, and that's probably very obvious from this. If you haven't done it, I definitely recommend it.
As human beings, we're programmed, or by default, we do what we would like to receive.
Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and this is the Financial Performance Podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, to plug the leaks in their business, and to move from surviving to thriving.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Leaky Bucket Podcast. Again, as per normal, I've got Sam here joining me for this wonderful episode. So without further ado, let's get ourselves underway.
So first of all, we're going to start with the leak of the week. And I think this one's just straight over to you, Ian.
Yeah, so this leak of the week was a new client that we'd got come on board. And when going through and reviewing sort of their financials, actually became quite obvious that they've got some substantial factoring charges. Now, at first instance, when I thought this was going to make a good leak of the week, I thought it was going to be, this client's massively overlooked something and there's a substantial amount of their income that's going through in factoring charges, and we can fix this quite simply and easily with some degree of finance. But actually, once we got talking to the client, it was actually the case that they couldn't just move away from them, because this particular setup for factoring meant that if they moved away from these particular factoring agencies, then actually their income disappeared as well, because the only way for them to get to the place where they'd get their income from was through these factoring agencies. They almost hold the monopoly of the industry. So actually it was a much bigger problem to fix than one that we first thought of, and certainly one that's going to be a bit of a work in progress over the coming weeks. But so much so that this is anywhere from about 20 to 25% of income that's being lost through these charges. So ongoing conversations are going to be happening, but obviously if we can find a way where we can get rid of those factoring charges, then there's a substantial uplift in the profitability and cash flow of that business.
Brilliant. Sounds good. Obviously a little bit more complex necessarily than you thought in the first place. But yeah, sounds really good. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about the epic win of the week. So the epic win of the week is surrounding a new coaching group that you've joined, and what your prospects are coming off from that.
Yeah, so obviously regular listeners have been used to the fact that we've attended and done a fair bit of coaching and mastermind groups over the last few years, but they've remained relatively stable in that respect. Like, we haven't done lots of different ones, but I felt like the step up of the direction we're going in, we needed something that was going to, certainly, I don't want to speak for you out of turn, but certainly for me, I felt like I was sort of knocking on the ceiling of my own ability, and I was like, I need to go to that next level. And yeah, I came across this new coaching group that I felt like, just the introductions, the books that they've given, some of the introductions to the courses, just really stretching my thinking and challenging what I believe to be true. And I've always maintained and said that actually, always the scope of my learning has always been the case of actually, is what I believe to be true actually true? If I can challenge that and move that forward, then that's where we hit new levels. How about for you?
Yeah, so I think for me, as you know, I like to challenge my thoughts and opinions, etc. And I'm always interested in another side to see if there's any sort of growth that can happen there. But I'm certainly probably more of a step back in terms of approaching new groups and things. I don't like going necessarily to new environments. I'm comfortable in my in my sort of surroundings, if you like, and that's why I take more of a back seat within the company. I don't like to be the face and out there sort of thing. So we have a different approach to those bits anyway. in terms of those, but certainly in terms of growth as a person and searching for new things that help you expand your knowledge, question your opinions, make you see if there's something more out there or more to things, anything you're missing, etc. I think that can only ever be a positive. You only take on the bits and do the bits that you actually think are what you need to, or worth it, or correct, but that doesn't mean you can't listen to all sorts of information. So yeah, I think the fact that we've recently obviously had the new employees come in and your time's been dramatically freed up, there was definitely something that was needed in order for you to feel fulfilled. Technical role isn't your preference, is it? So I think, yeah, finding something else for you to really get your teeth into and enjoy, that doesn't really feel like, I think for you it's fair to say, and I could be speaking out of turn, but I think for you it's fair to say that going to things like that don't feel like work. What's your opinion on that? What do you think? Is that the case?
Yeah, no, they don't really feel like work, but they do drain me. You'll know on numerous occasions that you end those sort of events and you're buzzing, you want to talk through all the ideas, and I'm like, just leave me alone, let me sleep. Like I just need recovery time. But yeah, I feel like my strength is going and learning those things, not necessarily implementing them. I think that's probably more your department, but it's coming back and bringing those ideas and go, right, this is what I've heard, this is what I've learned, this is where that could potentially apply. And then, yeah, giving you and probably sometimes the rest of the leadership team that ability to go, right, yeah, we should deploy some of those things.
Yeah, and I think you've hit on quite a good point there, to be fair, that the fact that actually you tend to search out these things and you start going to them, and then invariably you'll persuade me to go to one, or possibly the same one that you're going to if you think there's something that's particularly good there for me. It'll take a little bit of persuasion because I don't tend to like that new environment of those bits. And yet actually when we're there, I tend to be more of the extrovert character, if you like, in terms of when we're there. So I tend to come away buzzing with lots of ideas. I'm really pleased that I went to it. I just don't tend to be somebody who searches them out such. Whereas for you, it is that case that you come away and you need some reflecting time. Whereas I've got a head full of ideas and bits like that. And then we'll discuss through them normally at a later point, because you do need that sort of like time to digest the information, whereas I'm quite happy to go at it off the bat sort of thing. And then we'll work out what's going to be integrated into the company from there. And then that's over to my job of getting it all in place and running smoothly.
Yeah, I don't implement, I just find out. But I wanted to move on to the pick of the week. Now, the pick of the week, I've selected the book, right? But I've selected the book because actually it's a book that you follow stuff from. Now, again, not one that you read, one that I went and digested and got the information from, and then passed on the information to you, and then you've implemented it and put our own spin and style on that. And the book is Giftology by Jim Rowling. And yeah, the concept being that actually that you should always be aware of and able to give some degree of gift for something that sometimes people know about and sometimes people don't know about. But it's that idea that actually it's almost an abundance type mindset, yeah, that if you're giving away, things will come back to you. But it doesn't always have to be of monetary value, like, or significant monetary value, yeah. Sometimes it could just be, well, I'll let you talk through some examples of things that you've done maybe.
So just a little point for the listeners there. If you are looking for that book, you're looking for John, not Jim. Ian's awful with names. Brilliant with general information. Could remember a phone number for days just in his memory sort of thing if he'd seen it on the back of a lorry, but names not happening, are they? Yeah. So yeah, sorry, what ideas? I completely forgotten there.
No, that's all right. So
your question was?
The point was like the gifts and things that you've done. So I think you went through a period of time where actually you look to give sometimes gifts that were recognized by people and sometimes gifts that weren't recognized by people.
Yeah. So this is a bit that threw me off. I sort of thought you were angling towards that. So I don't actually declare I do this.
You do now.
So I have a bit of a thing. So a few years ago, I made a thing that I wanted to do random gifts of kindness. So and I wanted them to go unrecognized.
They will be unrecognized now, like, because it's not like you necessarily do this to people you know. Yeah, like usually these are people that you don't usually know. Yeah.
So on the whole, it's for people that I don't know, but I do it for people I know as well. I just don't let them know it's me. So if you receive a random gift, it's quite possible it's come from me and I've just not declared it to you, even when you've told me that you received a random gift. So yeah, it's when I feel like somebody is maybe struggling. Once a week, I try and do some sort of gift to somebody. Okay? And I think when people are struggling, I think sometimes people feel bad if you get them gifts. I know it can perk people up, but I think if there's a financial element to it or a suffering in some sort and you do bits, those in general tend to be the people that I'm helping. And I feel like it can make them feel bad that you can do those bits and they can't. So I tend to do them secretly and I don't declare the elements, even if it means seems like it's come off somebody else or a company or whatever. So I've a few bits that I've done. So I bought a £50 gift card in a supermarket for an elderly couple that were using a calculator to add up to see if they could afford it. And I just dropped it into their trolley as I went past. And I put a note with it to say that I'd noticed that they were using calculator. Here's £50 on me, and I hope that this makes their day feel a little bit brighter. Sometimes on gifts, I might put something like, it gives a smile on your face, pay it forward, But on that occasion, I didn't, because I felt like they specifically needed it. If someone's going through a hard time, then I might send them something in a coffee shop. If I hear a thing of like, somebody struggling on a financial element, maybe of what they're getting, a child asking if they can sort of have a particular drink or something, or cake, and mum's going, look, I can't afford both. You have a cake or you have the drink, sort of thing. Then I might pay for something and then just say to the people that are serving if they could just take it over to them, but not declare, just sort of say it was just a gift off Costa because they heard the child wanted one, so it's just off them rather than off. I don't know. I don't. There's certainly a feel good element from it. I think I started to do it because I started to feel like we're fortunate in what we've got. We've worked extremely hard for what we've got. Don't get me wrong, we've worked extremely hard for it. And I feel like some people can have a misconception that we're lucky for where we are. But I think I just felt that I needed to do something to help other people that were struggling. But I don't actually like that feeling of people being like, oh, thank you, etc. It feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. I don't like it.
Yeah, and I did take a leaf out of your book actually recently with this, because I was speaking to somebody and it was actually for them selling something to me, and they just apologized, basically went, I'm really sorry, I'm off my game. I'm actually moving house over the weekend. This was like a Friday. My head's not in it because I haven't done sort of packing and things like that. And actually all I did was just order and sent them a £10 Costa gift card and just went, look, when it's stressful over the weekend, just take a break and have a coffee. And it's not that great deal to us, but actually it was just like, yeah, just give them something to just a moment for them to feel a little bit better and thought about, I suppose, and just take the pressure off. But what I wanted to lean into then was to go, actually, you've also brought this into our company, yeah, that when you will recognize things within the team sometimes, and you will get gifts relating to them. And there is a way that we know what they like. So one, I want to lean on that part. But two, that actually when it's client related and there are certain things that are going on in their life that probably may not be business related, often aren't business related, that you're often then on it with picking up gifts that relate back to that. Yeah. So such as like clients moving house and babies and things like that. Do you want to just get a little bit of the listeners a bit of an insight to what we do there?
Yeah, so when a team member joins us as part of the onboarding process, But we have a document that they fill out, and it just lets us know what they like, what's important to them. It might be that they prefer to have a bit of time off work, or they might prefer like a meal out, or it's got larger gifts and it's got sort of smaller ones on there in general. And it just helps make sure that you're giving them something that they value, because everybody has different values that are important to them or feel like a gesture and feel nice to receive. And that can be different things. So it has a list of different bits in there. And I use those in order to do bits for the team. So if they've moved house, or something significant happens in their life, that they've got engaged, etc., I might use bits off there in terms of that, along with probably a more special gift that's a bit more traditional, if you like, for whatever the occasion is. But I'll also use it if I feel the team member's particularly having a hard time and just feeling down. And I've done the same in terms of, it's a little bit more awkward now, but I used to do a lot of bits of sending sort of a delivery thing, of sending like a Costa and a cake of some, like the drink and the cake that I knew they like, or something like that, that just randomly arrives for them. Frustratingly, now on most of the apps, you now have to give a code. So you have to declare to the person before the delivery arrives that that's what you've done. So it's not as much of a surprise anymore. However, that's still a handy one in order to do. It's funny how much a favorite drink or a favorite cake can perk somebody up if they're having a bit of a rough time. The side from the business point of view, we do exactly the same. So client managers are encouraged to actively let me know if anything's happening in a client's personal life along the same things, a large event, having a baby, moving house, whatever sort of thing, things like that, things that are stressful or things that are extremely like joyous. And then I will sort of gift that goes to that person. Invariably, it goes off the company, but invariably for the person, they have a strong connection with the client manager. So it's as if that client manager has listened to them and sent them a gift that's appropriate for whatever the occasion is.
Yeah, I've got one that springs out to me that was like, it was touching, it was thoughtful, it was clever all in one. And it was a particular client, I think, that they'd lived in apartments, flats and things like that throughout London for a period of time. And now they were buying their first house that had a garden for a long, long time. And that was picked up on by the client manager. It's fed through to you. And actually what you bought was a rose, if I remember correctly, that they could plant in their garden. And not only then was it a thoughtful gift and obviously so on, but actually also, and this might be showing my lack of gardening experience, right? But I believe it flowers multiple times per year. And then each time it flowers, it's almost like the client will see it and go, oh, remember where I got that from? It's looking amazing. And yeah, and it just brings back that memory and that link all the time. So it's touching and it's thoughtful, but it's also very clever in terms of the link back as well. So yeah.
Those ones specifically, if I do ones like that, they have, you name the rose, so they get like a little plaque that's attached to the rose. You plant with them and it has sort of like the instructions, but it has like, you can put whatever you like on the obviously the name, and then the bit after, and the idea is you keep that at the bottom of the rose. But yeah, you're right, they do get sort of 2 flowering sessions per year, and that particular sort of branded one that I use there, that they do really, really nice roses. I actually ordered one for ourselves so that I could see what they were like and stuff, and it's probably one of our nicest ones. I've got a lot of roses, and I would say it's probably one of our nicest ones. It is, yeah, really pretty. I do some personalized bits for clients as well. I think it's quite clear to tell, if for anybody that has done love languages and seen what they are, mine is gift giving, and that's probably very obvious from this. If you haven't done it, I definitely recommend it. It's a very good way of seeing what somebody else likes. Ian likes to have quality time together. So where I might buy a gift, and this could happen with clients or team members, this is what I mean about having them fill out a list what's appropriate for them. Because if I wanted to give a team member, say, a gift, because I think, do you know what, they've done excellent work, they've really gone like above and beyond, they've really worked really hard, etc. They're having a hard time at the moment anyway, outside of work maybe and stuff. I want to give them something. I'm going to give them a really nice gift. But actually, if they don't appreciate gifts and their love language, is something else, it's not the best thing to give them. It might feel good for me, and I might feel like I've done something really nice for them, but it might not have that same effect for them. Of course, they're going to appreciate it, but it might not have the impact that it could have had if it was something that they genuinely really appreciate and prefer.
So I want to move on. We've done quite a lot around the pick of the week. So the buzz of the week that we're going to move on to. This is a very high news profile type thing, right? And news is not my strong point at all. So definitely going to be your area, Sam. But there's this guy, Daniel Leaf, I think it is, who escaped from Wandsworth prison. I believe he's a high-profile criminal. I have absolutely no idea. I'm really just going with that's what we said we're going to talk about.
I think he's in terrorist action, isn't he? Alluding, not doing the terrorist action, I believe, but don't hold me to that.
It's not exactly minor though, is it? Right. So he's in prison, and he was in prison, and then he's escaped. What can that lead to? How can we relate that back to business? Like what can you bring from that goes? Were there failings within the system? What could the prison system learn? Yeah.
Well, they're absolutely. Originally, I was thinking, I don't know how we relate that to business. By the way, we do not pre-plan this. I do not know how you relate that back to business. But actually, your question there has an element to it, doesn't it? To go, ultimately, there's got to have been failings. It's impossible for somebody to have escaped without there being failings. As what's the point in prisons? There would be no prisoners in there because they will all just leave, grab the bag and go. Great for them, not so great for society. So ultimately there's got to be failings, and I think it's the same as any other company, business, etc., that there are always some sorts of leaks. Some are major, some are small, some have very big consequences, some don't. I think in this case the consequences are big for society, aren't they? It's somebody that should be behind bars that then wasn't for a number of days. However, from what I saw in the news and stuff, I do believe that all people involved, and I believe there was a massive amount of people involved, worked very well in order to find where he was and capture him and get him back where he was. Mistakes do happen. You could argue they shouldn't, but mistakes will always happen. And it's about how those are dealt with and how they're fixed going forward. And I would assume from here on in that whatever happened within that prison will be very in-depthly looked at and ensured that security is definitely a damn sight better in future.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add. I don't know much about the story. He escaped, and I think he was captured, and he didn't get very far. The end. Anyway, peeking behind the curtains, we decided for, I suppose, sort of for our daughter's 15th birthday. A little bit of thinking there. But I got it right. For our 15th birthday, we decided that actually, being the weather was really good, that we would have the family around and we would do a bit of a sort of Hawaiian themed party. I'm not normally one for having lots of people around. I prefer to be on my own. But on this occasion, I was like, I'm up for that. Do you want to give us the listeners a bit of an insight? How did it go? What do we do? What do we get on with?
Yeah, so I feel like we discussed part of this last week about the Hawaiian theme. It's been such a busy week. I don't know, I just have a feeling that we have already discussed this. Maybe I'm completely wrong. It's been an incredibly busy week the last week. But we had a Hawaiian themed party. It was quite nice to have everybody around and just do sort of something a little bit different, wear some bright colors, etc. We did a Hawaiian themed punch, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, which was very delicious, probably too delicious because both tasted the same, no matter how much alcohol you put in the alcoholic one. Or it might just have been that you had that much of it that by the time you were tipping more alcohol in, you couldn't taste it because you'd had a few too many already. But they were both very delicious. Definitely recommend them. yeah, it was just nice to have everybody round and relax and chill out and have fun. I love having people round with the children anyway, and just watching the kids have fun. So, just messing around in the pool and stuff. In general, when they're in the pool at home, they're quite civilized, if you like, and they're just swimming or putting sinkables in and collecting them, etc. But when you have people around, the dynamics change, and all of a sudden you get, however many people there are, 30 people, 40 people, all standing, at the side of the pool and running and jumping in at the same time. So you got fair amounts of gallons of water coming out the pool, and it's just general more chaos, but it is fun to watch. You can see them having so much fun. I do enjoy all those elements. And I think the fact that we work so hard in order to make the company successful, that we can provide those sorts of experiences for the kids of having sort of the pool at home and stuff. I think seeing the kids doing that, playing, really makes the effort and work, certainly that we've put in the last few months sort of thing, really makes it worth it. So it makes those moments where you've sort of questioned yourself maybe feel worth it.
Brilliant. So finally, Sam, we need to move on to the power move of the week. I think actually the power move is going to be, for me, it is actually not one of those topics. It's actually a side topic that you started to link into, which is the love languages. I didn't see that necessarily linking in, but yeah, that angle element that you brought in there is to go, actually, if you, as human beings, we're programmed, but by default, we do what we would like to receive, which doesn't mean that it's always received as nicely. Yeah, like I'm lucky. I think that quality time together for you is actually still relatively high on your list. So I'm not annoying you by wanting to spend lots of time with you. However,
I don't know, there is a balance there. No, but I do enjoy spending time with you on a serious note.
But I'm not someone necessarily for gifts as such. Like, I appreciate when you buy me gifts, but they're not as high on my appreciation factor as what.
Although Ian did get really upset a few weeks ago when I bought all the kids a chocolate bar and I didn't get one for Ian.
Well, you only one. I didn't get anything. You got yourself something. Wow.
No, I didn't. I didn't get anything for me. I offered you. I didn't get anything for me. I just got for the kids.
This was the day after giving away my chocolate bar that I had in the fridge as well. But I'm not allowed that. Anyway, we digress.
Not bitter about it still, Ian, are you at all?
No, but we'll leave it there. So, do you agree that's the power move that came out, or have you got something alternative that you think is the power move from this week?
Yeah, I think I sort of have two. So I think gift giving is not gift giving, sorry. I think the love language is extremely important because there are different elements. I think we were told by, I think it was Kevin, that said to us about the fact of, you could acts of service, you could take a day off work using annual leave and clean the whole house because that's what you would want, or that's what feels good for you. And maybe I've been moaning about the house being messy or whatever sort of thing. So you take the day off work using annual leave, but actually I come home and instead of being absolutely amazed and like, wow, that's amazing, Ian, I'm frustrated and annoyed that you've used a day of annual leave and spent it at home and not even told me. We could have spent the day together, sort of thing. And I think that really resonated with me. And that was certainly where we started looking into those bits then. And we did the test ourselves to see what the difference is. We do it on our teenage children, and we've done it over a number of years. And actually, it's interesting to see how they change over the years for what theirs is. And I think it's definitely worth it to do with your team, definitely worth it to do with your partner and with children as well. I think, it is really important. What's the point in giving something to somebody that they're not really going to appreciate on the same level they could do because it's not what they really value?
Yeah, I think for the listeners, I think if you just Google 5 love languages, get yourself to the website. There's a little mini test you can do on there that basically reveals what I think it's your top 2 are and what your bottom 2 are. And obviously there's one left sort of just hanging in the middle, but it's basically don't do this, do this. But you had a second angle though that you thought was a power move of the week, yeah?
Yeah, so I also think Power Move of the Week is the new coaching program. As I mentioned earlier, in general, I tend to be a bit more averse to that sort of environment in terms of going in the first place. But they definitely are good. You need things like that in order to push yourself. And I think if if you're never expanding your knowledge and you're never going to new things and putting yourself out of your comfort zone, then how do you expect to improve? How do you expect to be the best version of yourself that you can be? And how do you expect your company to be that as well? You have to, in order to stay ahead of the curve and stuff, you have to be challenging yourself and you have to be putting yourself out of your comfort zone and looking whether the way you're doing things, is that the best way?
Yeah, definitely agree. Sam, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could help spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. Also, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can also find more info and links in the show notes below. See you next time.